Good evening. Today we have a Heroes of the Storm Nexus Gaming Series Division A match. We're going to begin on Alterac Pass. On the blue side we have the members of Beast Coast. We've got ThePiemaker on ETC, Munkus on Deathwing, Supagoat on Anduin, Secret 333 on Rexar, and Muffin on Jaina. Their opponents, we've got the members of Minion Masters. We've got SrMacofCheez, or maybe it's SrMacofCheez, on Lunara, himmybo on Johanna. We've got Wesgra on Alexstrasza, BRUther on Thrall, and finally MarshHole on Leoric. So this will be my second cast of the Nexus Gaming Series. I've learned a few things since then, some things with the layouts, as well as how to actually zoom out so we can see a little bit more of the action. And this series right here, this is Division A from the Nexus Gaming Series, so this will be a higher level of play than I showed before, from before I had cast a game of Division C. These are just more highly ranked and generally, supposedly, more skilled players. Our drafts right here, we do have, Beast Coast does have an interesting draft in that they have the Deathwing, which is the newest hero in Heroes of the Storm. However, Deathwing, most of the time, since he is classified as a bruiser, has typically been played by the solo laner, which means normally you're going to have two ranged heroes in addition to him. However, Beast Coast, instead, has chosen to run their Deathwing in the DPS slot. So that means they only have one proper range DPS. They have a different solo laner in Rexar. Now, of course, this map, since this is Alterac Pass, this is a map that is a little bit bigger. You don't necessarily always see the standard 4-4-1 that you see on many other maps, where you have four people rotating as one, and then the last person is the solo laner by themselves. Instead, it also looks like, I talked about the double bruiser from Beast Coast, but also looks like Minion Miners. They've got two bruisers of their own with Thrall and Leoric, and they are just having them split up. So that does mean that Minion Miners are just running a 1-3-1 split, where they just have one of their solo laners in the top, one in the bottom, and then the rest of their three team members in the middle. We did see the early camp by both teams, getting that just as soon as possible, and we are just going to see them cleared and cancel out. So right now we do have a pretty uneventful start to the game. Not much has happened, no kills. Maybe we're going to see a potential gank attempt. It looked like these three were about to rotate on Leoric, but they thought better of it. Leoric being a very difficult character to gank. Meanwhile, Rexar, interestingly, does have Misha looking like he's going for a flank angle with Misha. I think there was an attempted stun on that, but even with actually getting the stun there, I don't think there's a whole lot he's going to achieve. Because even with that stun, without some rotations from his teammates, there's just no way he's going to get a gank there. Now, one of the things I am concerned about once we actually get down to the team fights is that I do feel that Minion Miners do have better team fight damage. And I do say this because aside from having, they do have Thrall, since Thrall, although he's classified as a bruiser, his origins are as a melee assassin, so he does innately do more damage than, I think, the bruiser characters from Beast Coast. Meanwhile, Beast Coast, their only ranged unit is, or ranged character is Jaina. Jaina being a mage, a subtype of ranged assassin, which means that her damage is gated very much around her cooldowns. She does a lot of burst when her abilities are ready to go. However, once her ability is on cooldown, she doesn't do much more damage. While Minion Miners, they're going to have that Lunara. Lunara being a sustained damage assassin who does a lot of poison damage. And we are going to see a little bit of a push by the Minion Miners, since they were able to clear, or rather secure, their mercenary camp faster. And then they were able to push with it. And it took quite a bit more time for Beast Coast to get their mercenary camp in this lane. And we are seeing that both teams, although I personally often think of the objective on this map as pretty strong, you know, we very frequently see teams, especially higher level teams, not be in a rush to secure the first objective on this map. They'll play a little bit more macro, especially centered around those siege camps that will go down the middle. And now it does look like we will have the members of Beast Coast, with that kill that they got on Alexstrasza, gonna take and secure the prison camp. Timer will start ticking down, but I think BRUther is going to get this. No, I thought he was going to finish the channel. Instead, Beast Coast is going to dive in with the help of Deathwing, but Deathwing is now at half health, and ETC is not there, so this is a 4v4 while solo laners continue to battle out in top. Alexstrasza does switch over to Dragon form, but that is not going to be able, their minion miners are not going to be able to turn that fight around. And very interestingly, we see the ThePiemaker right here. Normally you would think of ETC as your main tank, but we saw that he never actually decided to join that engagement. He stayed in this lane with Leoric when they had two other characters who normally would be more traditionally thought of as solo laners in Rexxar and Deathwing. But now they've got that four-man push going down right here. I think this is probably going to be the end of that top fort. Leoric by himself, not going to be able to stop that. I don't think Leoric will die. Here is some support, but we're not seeing any damage rotate with them. It's just the Leoric, the Johanna, and the Alexstrasza. So I actually don't even like this rotation, and Lunara is staying middle. And the positive side of that is that she will continue to soak experience. She even is starting to get some push of her own. But there wasn't a whole lot that was actually achieved with this defense by MarshHole, Wesgra, and himmybo. And Lunara now, she was rotated on, but she saw it soon enough that she wasn't really under much threat. Meanwhile, Leoric I think he tried to throw out his Drain Hope, but it looks like he was knocked back. So, one objective for the blue team, Beast Coast. They did get one fort out of it, and we are going to see them turn to these mercenary camps again. So we're seeing that, obviously, a very important part of this map. This particular siege camp is unique compared to other siege camps in that, well, sorry, there actually is one on Braxis Holdout that will do the same thing, in that it reduces the armor of structures that it pushes down. It definitely reduces armor, and that's something that makes that mercenary camp very difficult to take, very difficult to clear. And if anything, I almost feel like at this point it seems like this is the true objective. Although, to be fair, the cavalry did actually take one fort already. So they're just going to... We actually haven't seen that much achieved by these goatmen. I don't actually know if they're goatmen, but this siege camp. And Deathwing's now potentially in a little bit of trouble. Alright, he does get that protected proc from losing one of his armor plates. We are going to see a Hearth from MegaMuffin. And overall, we aren't... This has ultimately been a pretty uneventful game, but part of what you sometimes see at higher levels of play in Heroes of the Storm is that you actually see fewer kills, because players are playing more carefully, not fighting unnecessarily, and when there's something to do in terms of macro, they just do it. So Deathwing is going to fly up. We are going to see the objective start up now in the top, since it was on the bottom before. And ThePiemaker, although he was basically playing solo lane before, he has chosen to go for Mosh Pit. So Mosh Pit, that's actually going to be a little bit of a tough call. There are, definitely only 2 Mosh Interrupt characters on the side of the Minion Masters, but there are also some characters that I would say are pretty good at interrupting the Mosh. I would say the best ThePiemaker can hope for is that since, well, you know what, never mind. Things are going to happen right here. Deathwing is going to dive in. We did see Leoric was taken down, And now Lunara is suddenly not in such a great situation. She does have the leaping strike, so that she will leap over Rexar, and I think she actually is going to get out of there. Actually, it's pretty close. All right, she will get out of there, but she did lose a lot of health in the process, and we are seeing the few deaths that are happening to minion miners. One on Alexstrasza, one on Leoric. Does look like it's time for a team fight. Healing Circle will go down for Alexstrasza to heal up. Deathwing flies up. We'll be able to come back down very soon, already using Skyfall to throw down some of those meteors, and that will reduce Deathwing's cooldown of his ability to land. And since we see a little bit of a lull in the action, we are going to see both teams go back to their siege camp. They are going to get that. Now, I do see that Johanna has chosen to get Sins Exposed at level 4, giving her better wave clear. And this is a pretty typical choice, but doing that does mean she did give up Conviction, which is also a pretty typical choice. Will mean that she does not have the move speed that makes it a little bit better for her to engage. So Johanna right now not going to be the greatest at engaging, but we do also have that engage potential from Leoric. Leoric, meanwhile, does decide to entomb Deathwing. Just going to stand in the fire, though. You know, I think you can move around even if you do decide to use Drain Hope. But Deathwing now did lose a lot of health from that. Leoric chased after Deathwing, but Deathwing is out of there. Leoric still in this fight. So is Thrall, but the members of Beast Coast still able to keep a hold on the prison camp for minion miners, and that will be another one objective for Beast Coast. So we are going to need to see them clear. Johanna's in here. Unstoppable is down from Iron Skin, but there wasn't another stun ready. If there was, it could have been a dead Johanna right there. So we are seeing the blue team. They're going to 5-man just push down through mid. There is a few ults, Sundering, and the Mosh Pit I think is going to happen, but Mosh Pit very quickly interrupted. ETC nearly going to go down, and he does. And that can actually go a long way to really stopping the push from Beast Coast, but instead they pick up the Alexstrasza kill. I think just Alexstrasza stayed in there way too long when Deathwing was still there as well. Deathwing himself does go down, so now it's actually just a 3v3. I don't like that jump in from... Yeah, that jump in from Lunar was very ill-advised. Not only does that leave minion miners at a 2v3, but they're also not clearing the lanes, and instead they're even pinging defend here because we've just got this cavalry unit pushing pretty much uncontested. And now we actually have the support from MegaMuffin. MegaMuffin going in trying to get BRUther, and I think he can get him. No, instead that's going to be MegaMuffin going in too far. Perhaps should have let go of that ice block a little bit sooner. And I think at this point Beast Coast will have to back off, but this is ultimately a pretty strong... This is a pretty strong beginning for them. I mean, at this point, I guess we're not even really in the beginning. We're in the mid-game, arguably even the late game. Beast Coast has achieved quite a bit in terms of getting all 3 forts down from minion miners. And we are going to see minion miners just go for this boss play. That was a very interesting call. They just straight up went there. Oh, sorry. You know, I missed it, but... I didn't miss it. I actually did catch it, but I just wasn't paying enough attention that Jaina is dead, so actually that does clear the way for them to get the boss. So this is a potential power play for minion miners. I think the slow part is that the recognition by Beast Coast is a little slow. They were off the map for a pretty long time, so I think they should have assumed that minion miners were going for their boss. They do finally get the start on their own boss. It looks like we're seeing the rotation attempt from minion miners. Will they get there in time? If anything, because they don't have Jaina, they don't have their only real damage hero here to clear it. They will get there in time, and Beast Coast does have to back off. So this is the first time where I actually see minion miners really kind of being ahead in their decision making. Now, what they are doing, though, first of all, Thrall is getting stunned by the boss, which shouldn't really happen, although the boss on this map does stun a little bit faster than bosses on other maps, I feel, and Jaina's still just over here. So they let 2 bosses go through, and, I mean, to be fair, the bosses aren't going to do a huge amount, I suppose, especially with... They did get the top fort. But this one, well, there is some support. They'll at least get to keep the fort front wall. And actually, they stand a pretty good chance to get more. They're at full health. They have the boss pushing only at about 80% health itself. We are going to see the boars come out from Rexar, and Deathwing will dive in, and suddenly MarshHole is in trouble, and he might go down. It's pretty likely. ETC dives in with the light bomb from Anduin, and who's about to go down there? That's Supagoat. That's Anduin. He is going down. What's he doing so close there? Minion miners are somehow in this fight. They're all low, but they're all 5 of them. And the boss is still up, only at about 10% of its hit points, but we're going to see ETC go down as well. BRUther's just walking into the flames! Oh my god. I mean, they get the Deathwing kill in the end, but that was a very, very unnecessary death by BRUther in particular. Just standing in the molten breath from Deathwing. I don't know what that was all about. So they're going to threaten to get their first objective for this game. Minion miners, that is. They are going to have 3 up. Johanna's not here, though. Johanna is clearing top. I don't feel that's really necessary. And instead, that's going to be Leoric going down. I don't like that decision either. So, I mean, Johanna went up here to clear, but there really isn't a pressing need to clear. And that also means that Alexstrasza is going to die too. Oh, man. I think that's a big mistake by Johanna, unless I really don't... Like, I'm trying to think, did I miss something? But I'm pretty sure I didn't. Since neither team has a fort on top, but they both have their keeps, that means the pushing in the lanes is even. I don't see why Johanna is here. Or Johanna is here, rather. And this is absolutely going to be an objective in the favor of Beast Coast. There's nothing Minion miners can do about this. Alexstrasza still has 30 seconds before she can revive. They're going to get the siege camp, which at this point is very much a consolation prize. It'll, like, if they're really, no, I was going to say, if they're lucky, it'll push down the lane and maybe take down the fort. But, I mean, at some point, the cavalry units are going to push down the lane. So that mostly means, I was going to say, maybe they don't have to worry about middle. But, you know, they kind of do, because the siege camp is just going to get cleared. Level 20s are in, though. So I think the best thing that we see in favor of Minion miners at this point are those level 20s. I would say that they do have the stronger end of the level 20 talents between the Blessed Shield upgrade for Johanna, Radiating Faith, as well as that Buried Alive from Leoric. These are, in my opinion, just much stronger level 20s than anything we see on the side of Beast Coast. But I mean, for the most part, Beast Coast has just outplayed Minion miners this entire game. So Minion miners are going to have to really pull something out of their hats to try to prove me wrong on that conclusion. If anything, I think I want to see the Entomb sooner than later. And I think they just waited too long to pull the trigger. Yeah, I personally think they just waited too long to pull the trigger on that. Deathwing dove in. At some point, Leoric was just getting stunned, and he couldn't do much. And there is Deathwing diving in again, since he does have, what is it? Is it Burned Beneath My Shadow? No, stood in the... It is Burned Beneath My Shadow. I highlighted the wrong thing. And I think at this point, that's pretty much... This looks like it is the game-winning push for Beast Coast. Deathwing could die here anyway, though. Yeah, 2 keeps down. That does mean that... is it Van... No, not Vandar. Drekthar. Drekthar is down to 20 armor, and he's just being shredded right there, and that will be game 1 going in favor of Beast Coast. We do have another map in this series, though, so let's move on to it. Alright, we've got game number 2 between Beast Coast and Minion miners in Division A of the Nexus Gaming Series. This game will be on Dragonshire. On the blue side, we've got the members of Beast Coast. We've got MegaMuffin, this time on Vala. ThePiemaker on Garrosh. Munkus on Mephisto. Supagoat will be on
Battle commencing.
Stukov, and Secret 333 will be on Leoric. The other team, we've got Minion Miners, MarshHole on
4, 3,
Li Ming, himmybo on
1.
Anubarak, SrMacofCheez on Lunara, Wesgra on Oriel, and BRUther, this time on Rexar. So in my opinion, we're seeing slightly more typical drafts right here in the form of double range, double melee, and a healer. I would say the Minion Miners draft personally looks a little bit stronger to me. And I'm saying that purely on the strength, maybe not purely, but mostly on the strength of the Oriel, who is right now a pretty strong character with the recent change to Resurrect, where resurrected targets are now resurrected with full health. And another thing that I like about Minion Miners draft is that they did get an actual battery character to go along with Oriel in that Lunara. So they've gone with the Lunara again. This time they're also picking up a Li Ming to get resets and more burst damage. So I think this game will see probably more explosive team fights with both teams actually drafting more damage. Both teams getting, well, let's see, we do have both the burst damage and the sustained damage from Minion Miners, whereas I feel like Beast Coast have more like just have double sustained damage, with that Mephisto being a little bit strange there. Mephisto does have the Tickle Mephisto skin from the recent event, which in my opinion is actually a pretty ugly skin. We're going to see both siege camps picked up. This one will just push down the bottom lane, throw rocks, does not reduce armor, not quite as threatening as that siege camp on Alterac Pass, but I mean, of course, if you leave it alone, it will eventually do damage. Minion Miners did have the channel on both of the shrines, and it looks like they will fight over it now. Li Ming is in the middle, so this is a 4v3 in the favor of Beast Coast. And I think what's helping Minion Miners as well is also this top lane matchup, where BRUther, I think, is just going to do a better job of controlling this shrine on Rexar than Secret 333 will on Leoric. So I think that's why we see Leoric just rotating down to middle, while the 4-man from Beast Coast is just deciding to push the bottom lane. I think they realize that it's going to be very, very difficult for Leoric to actually secure that top shrine. So they're having him double soak the top and middle lane, while the members of Beast Coast 4-man just pushes hard down this bottom lane. They get the kill on Anubarak with the combination of, I believe Garrosh threw him in, as well as the silence from Stukov. Since Anubarak does have a reputation of, despite being a tank, he's one of the squishiest and easiest to kill tanks. Which, of course, it sounds contradictory, but it's just within the range of the tanks in the game. He is one with lower hit points, and it's generally easier to just straight up kill him than most other tanks in the game. Anubarak's by himself right here, so he's just going to throw out an Impale to get a stun, which isn't going to do much. I suppose it just stalls them a little bit, slows down their damage. Anubarak needs to be very, very careful right there. I mean, he's standing in the silence, which was being channeled indefinitely by Stukov from that lurking arm. We are going to see some rotations, so that we're going to see a 4-man on 4-man, but he actually just does go down, so we're just seeing again and again how Anubarak is being burst down. And I said I liked Minion Miners draft more, but I think there's some strengths that we're also seeing from the draft from Beast Coast. I think that combination of the Stukov and the Garrosh is actually making it very difficult for Anubarak to survive. I also think Garrosh is probably a hero who, in general, does pretty well into Anubarak, and I think Anubarak can still play around it. Like, it's not an auto loss if you pick Anubarak into Garrosh. Ooh, nice dodge. Oh man, BRUther. So I was saying that I feel like BRUther has the winning end of the solo lane matchup against Leoric, but we saw the rotation. Rexar overextended. He got a little too confident, was trying to push down the lane, and he did get some nice push out of it. He did get the wall, one tower, a tower and a half really, but he did end up dying for his sins. Meanwhile, Anubrak kind of playing with fire here. We did have the bottom bruiser camp picked up by Minion miners. So that will be something that Beast Coast will have to deal with. But Minion miners are going to have to deal with not letting Beast Coast get the Dragon Knight. And as it turns out, Rexar does just fine for that purpose. I think Rexar has really just been dominating this lane for whenever he has not been overextending. Leoric just hasn't been able to deal with him, and certainly not able to hold that top camp. And that's why this map is relatively unique in that your solo lane matchup matters quite a bit, because if you have the edge in the solo lane matchup, it basically means that you keep that top shrine for just as long as you want. Minion miners are not at 10 yet, though. Beast Coast at 10, but it won't be for much longer, especially if Rexar can get some more experience. But Beast Coast using that to just push in. Attempted taunt. Looks like the taunt actually missed from ThePiemaker. Threw Anubrak in, but since he didn't get the taunt, and there also was no silence, but here is that cocoon. I don't feel the cocoon actually achieved that much. Looks like they're trying to get onto Munkus, and instead, somehow, despite the cocoon and that temporary 4v3, Minion miners loses that engagement. They even have the resurrect from Oriole, but Anubrak is just feeding. And the only thing, if anything, I feel like this has really been the saving grace and again, we just see Leoric die there. So Beast Coast will not be able to pick up the Dragon Knight, and I think in general, we're seeing that the 4-man from Beast Coast is really outplaying the 4-man from Minion miners. And as much as I said I like their draft, the Anubrak is just not having a good time of it. But where Minion miners are having a good time of it is in this top lane with the Rexar versus the Leoric. The Leoric just hasn't really been able to deal with the Rexar adequately, and yeah, I mean, they just have to make their choice of, are they going to send someone to rotate, or are they just going to try to continue to dominate the 4-man, which, if anything, is probably the better idea. And he's straight up going for the Anubrak. But Garrosh now is pretty low, and the positioning for Garrosh wasn't very good. Attempted Durance of Hate does not do much. And we are going to see probably, yeah, I don't see... But again and again, we're seeing Anubrak die. I mean, I guess he can afford to die, courtesy of that resurrect from Oriole. And I think, are we finally going to see a Dragon Knight in this game? Not yet. Leoric is still here, but ultimately, I don't think it's going to be a winning matchup for Leoric. Now, we are seeing a Li Ming who has chosen to get Seeker instead of Calamity. This is my second biggest pet peeve in all of Heroes of the Storm. Li Mings who do not get Calamity. But it is what it is. So, Dragon Knight now for Minion miners. Rexar in this dragon. First dragon at 8 minutes at level 13. Dragon still mostly has, well, now at about 70 hit points. I actually don't know about the dragon going in this deep. I would think you would get the tower. And if anything, I'm wondering, are Beast Coast going to turn this? Entomb goes in. Durance of Hate. We are going to see members of Minion miners go down. But can Garrosh go down as well? He is being poisoned. No, he gets the heal. Garrosh will not go down. But is that going to be... Oh. We saw that healing pathogen go all the way over there to... actually flew through the air as Valo herself was flying through the air, but it wasn't enough to save her from the poison damage from Lunara. So strong plays right here by Minion miners, getting some value out of Oriole's Resurrect. They will get the mercenary camp here. I'm actually surprised they don't stay to push this just a little bit longer. They get the mercenary camp, but this mercenary camp will just be cleared up pretty quickly. Instead, they're just going to decide to paint the map red. And at this point, they're now going to have double mercenary camp push in the bottom lane. I personally would really like to see them actually push through the bottom lane instead of just split up around the map and let the mercenaries get cleared. So Lunara and Oriole are going to take the top bruiser camp for Minion Miners, while Rexar and Leoric are returning to their solo lane matchup. I think this solo lane matchup is not getting any better for Leoric now that Rexar has his level 13 talent. Level 13 is a bit of a damage spike for Rexar. All of his talents give damage to that tier, and the preferred one that I'm often seeing is the aspect of the Hawk, where if he uses his Q, if he does Spirit Swoop and he hits a hero, he'll get an increase of 125 attack speed. And suddenly Rexar is almost like a ranged DPS hero. And that just means that if he hits Leoric with the Spirit Swoop, then suddenly he's going to be putting out a lot of damage from Rexar's throwing axis. Much more damage than he would have before. And Leoric has already been losing this solo lane matchup, but I'd say the saving grace right now is that we do have the bruiser camp pushing for the blue team, for Beast Coast. But, I mean, the bruiser camp, it can't go on to the shrine. So it can't help Leoric win that. So Leoric is deciding to rotate out. He's going to get value somewhere else. But they are going to be found out by that Wisp from Lunara. Seeker does hit. It looks like, I was wondering, were we going to see an Entomb attempt? This is a 5v4 down here, so I think the play is to go for Entomb. But Secret 333, not sharking too hard for it. I feel like, actually, there isn't really a good Entomb target at the moment, unless we see the Entomb immediately followed up by the Lurking Arm from Stukov. Monk is going to get stunned. He's being targeted by a new Barak. And I think with that flank from Rexar, that actually was able to finish off Vala. Meanwhile, Disintegrate from Li Ming, trying to put in more damage. This is already a one fight for Beast Coast, and they're getting more. MarshHole's just trying his best not to die. Came very, very close, and that's going to be another Dragonite for Minion Miners. The second Dragonite. Only Minion Miners have gotten Dragonite so far.
Red team has destroyed a fort.
Looks like they're going to take that Dragonite bot lane, and why wouldn't they? They've got 5 people. 5 to 4. They have a Dragonite with 90% of his hit points. We're going to see a new Brat go in there, but he is able to just burrow charge out since there was no follow-up from the Lurking Arm. The Durance of Hate, however, leading to some kills. We are going to see a revive, though, on a new Barak, and so they're actually going to keep 5 members in this fight here. We got a heal on 6. I don't know. It's easier to say SrMacofCheez than Senor. I don't know which one it's supposed to be. Or should it be Senior? I really don't even know. Leoric nearly goes down. And, I mean, at this point, they could do more. What are they going to go for? It looks like they're not choosing to try to go for the core. Instead, they want to get a second keep. And they're getting that second keep without even having to go through the wall. Decide to just cocoon Vala. Not let her do anything. And that does mean that they'll just walk out of there safely. And although there's 18 hit points, there is no time left on the Dragon Knight. So, mercenaries will be captured. They'll actually take the blue team's mercenary camp, the siege camp, to deny that to them. The blue team doesn't have any camps that they can get right now. There's not much for Beast Coast to do other than to try to soak experience, to try to catch up. Leoric's going to do that. Since Minion Miners will undoubtedly reach level 20 first. There's no way that they don't. They're just so much closer. They're a level and a half ahead. So it's really up to Beast Coast to be relatively passive, just find the experience where they can. But it's going to be tough because I think there probably will be a window where Minion Miners will probably make it to 20, and then the objective will come up. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. And Minion Miners actually just decided they're just going to push down this fort since they know that Beast Coast isn't going to challenge this. Or are they? It looks like they're rotating to challenge it, but I think they think better of it, realize there's nothing they can actually do about that. They've still got to clear out bottom. They very much need to clear out bottom. Even though the Bruiser camp is nearly dead, they need to keep clearing, because that is a fort and a keep against an open bottom lane. That means the push in that lane is going to be very heavy, but a team fight is going to happen. ThePiemaker takes way too much damage, but they are able to safely disengage. Endurance of Hate was used in that engagement, along with the flailing swipe from Stukov. So it's a positive trade in ults for minion miners. They are also going to let double mercenaries pushing in top, but that will be cleared by Leoric. But again, now Beast Coast are in exactly that situation that I had just said would happen, which is that it's level 18 to 20, and the objective has just started. So realistically, it should more or less be a free objective in the favor of minion miners, and then they just walk that dragon down to the core, and that's the end of the game. I think the saving grace for now... Oh my god! The saving grace is certainly not Munkus just eating those Ming shots. I was going to say the saving grace was that minion miners had split up, and they weren't facing down all 5, but minion miners actually grouped up faster and managed to find the gank. At that point, I don't even know if it's a gank. At this point, this is almost undoubtedly the game going to be finished in favor of minion miners. In fact, it looks like they're pushing in a direction where it's like, we don't even need the objective anymore. They're just pushing straight to it, not even finishing the tower. They're just going to go straight there and hit the core, because all that's left is Stukov and Vala. They have the damage to take down the core between Lunara. Yeah, I mean, it's mostly the Lunara, but here comes the Ming, and they'll even finish off the Stukov for good measure. So that will actually be game 2 going in favor, and then just cocoon the Vala. She'll just be able to watch from inside as the core goes down. Alright, so this series has been tied up at 1-1. That means we do have one final map left in this series. So, keep watching. See who's going to finish this and take it. Alright, we've got our final game of this series between Beast Coast and Minion Miners. Final game will be on Volskaya Foundry. For one last time, we've got the members of Beast Coast, Munkus on Greymane, Secret 333 on Kel'Thuzad, Supagoat going to be on Anduin, ThePiemaker on Johanna, and MegaMuffin on Chen. On the other side, we've got Minion Miners. I wonder if I ever called them Minion Masters by accident. But anyway, we've got himmybo on Anubarak, BRUther on Falstad. We've got Wesgra on that Alexstrasza again, SrMacofCheez, SrMacofCheez, whatever we want to call him, on Li Ming, and finally, we've got MarshHole on Lili. So, final game, nice turnaround by Minion Miners after the rather dominant game 1 for Beast Coast. Now, these final drafts here, I'm gonna start real clear here that I don't like Minion Miners draft. They do not have a bruiser character, and bruisers are your typical solo laning characters. Instead, we've got the solo lane Lili. The solo lane Lili up against the Chen. I don't know about that one. That also means they have a double support combo. Meanwhile, the Kel'Thuzad from Beast Coast already chaining heroes together. Now, this Kel'Thuzad is more of a late-game stacking hero. Right now, he's not very potent. Once he gets all 30 stacks, though, from either landing those Chains of Kel'Thuzad or those Frost Novas, he will get an increase of 75% in his spell power, and from there, he's very, very dangerous, because he can one-shot a lot of characters by himself, and certainly if there's any follow-up from teammates as well, it'll just be a dead target if he actually lands his combo. Meanwhile, so this solo lane matchup between Lili and Chen, it doesn't really look like it's going that well in favor of Lili. It is just seeming like Chen, who is already a very strong solo laning character, is just kind of winning against the Lili. I mean, the Lili can heal herself up, but we already see that the Chen is zoning her out of the minions. So we are going to see the support from the Li Ming. But that also means in middle, they're outnumbered 4-3. But it looks like they play safe enough so that they don't get engaged on. And now we have a 1v2 solo lane matchup, but Chen's just holding his own just fine. I'm actually really surprised that Beast Coast didn't decide to take the healing camp once they saw Li Ming down in bottom. Li Ming has since rotated out, so now it is back to just being Li and Chen in this bottom lane. I don't really feel that that solo lane matchup is going that well for them. Chain of Kel'Thuzad was landed on Li Ming, but wasn't able to connect to anyone. So we haven't seen anything out, really. We haven't seen a big blow-up by Kel'Thuzad yet, and we probably won't until he gets stacked. Meanwhile, we are going to see Greymane take this camp here. Probably just, oh, I was going to say take it by himself, but Greymane decides to help him. Greymane a little bit low on mana. Not that he's a very mana-intensive character, so it might not be that important for him to arrive to the fight with a huge amount of mana. Alright, Beast Coast does have a slight lead in experience. That does mean they're going to make it to 7 first, and it does look like teams are prioritizing dealing with the top lane before they commit all 5 players to bottom. And we are going to see a rotation on Munkus, but he sniffs it out and does not get ganked. It was looking like a pretty good gank too, but I mean I guess he just saw it coming. And oh no, Minion miners are just feeding more stacks to that Kel'Thuzad. How many stacks does Kel'Thuzad have? Kel'Thuzad with 13 stacks. I believe at 15 is when he does get the Glacial Spike. I think that was also a 14 stack. Yep. We also have another Li Ming not getting Calamity. And it's, again, I'm very, very upset about this. Chen, meanwhile, looks like he did not have. Oh yeah, he did not activate. He did not activate Stagger soon enough, and actually took a bunch of damage. And I think that's one of the tricky things about learning how to play the new Chen. I say new, even though he's not that new anymore. But really making sure that you actually activate Stagger before you take a lot of damage. It can be tough, of course. Like if you get stunned when you don't expect it, then you could just take a lot of damage before you ever really even have the chance to activate Stagger. So, turret camps have been captured. 2 turrets from Minion miners, but we do have the Chains of Kel'Thuzad do get on Anub'arak. Anub'arak did take a lot of damage from Greymane as well. So now, Anub'arak survived that. The problem is that if that happens later on in the game when Kel'Thuzad gets stacked, he won't survive those things. He was CC'd by the Kel'Thuzad, and then he was dove upon by the Greymane. And he's just lucky that for now, Kel'Thuzad did not have the stacks. Big orb goes in, but we are going to see 2 heroes chained and rooted by the Frost Nova. Munkus just barely gets out of there. BRUther trying to chase, but I think it's pretty ill-advised. If anything, I'm surprised they didn't collapse on BRUther right there. And it looks like now they are going to do that collapse. BRUther is able to barrel roll out of there. So 99% channels for Beast Coast. Beast Coast playing pretty disciplined, where even though they didn't actually lose anyone, they decided it was time to disengage, heal up. They can give up some percent, have a few members retreat, and we are going to see them go in. Now they need to get someone on the objective, though. So Johanna is she just barely gets her foot on there. She almost didn't get there in time because she was impaled by Anub'arak. Cleanse on Anub'arak prevents him from getting rooted by the Frost Nova. Looks like they're focusing on Greymane, maybe now on Johanna. But at some point, Kel'Thuzad's getting very close to stacked, and whenever he does even get that... Oh, but Li Ming! Oh, if only Li Ming... Alright, she's getting the kills anyway. I was going to say, if only she had Calamity. But kills being traded out. At this point, how close is Kel'Thuzad to those stacks? No, he is stacked. So it's going to be much... Oh, and there is Chen. Because Beast Coast does have their ults. So they managed to manage the macro better, so that... I mean, it's actually crazy how long that one objective lasted. Where it was fought over... They backed up. They healed.
Blue team has taken control of a protector.
But in any case, Beast Coast look like they're off to a very strong start again, much like where they were in Game 1. You know, I've said that I really don't like Minion Miners Draft, and I do think it's a bit of a problem. They don't have a lot of frontline presence, and I do feel that Anubarak as your solo frontline is also a little bit of a problem too. He's really not much of a walling type frontline hero. He's more of a dive and initiation hero, and he suffers with problems where he has a stun, but most of Anubarak's abilities are on very long cooldowns. So Anubarak is a hero who wants to end fights quickly, and these fights are going on a little too long for him. He's also relatively squishy, as I've touched on before on the previous game. So once he takes too much damage, he's going to back off, and as soon as he backs off, there's not a lot of damage, or not a lot of frontline from the rest of his team. But they are able to get a kill. Very interesting gust right in the corner there. Actually, that was a great gust. Trapped them in the corner. And I mean, that's something although there are a lot of things I am questioning, particularly from Minion Miners, I also do feel that there are a lot of things that we're seeing here that do show that this is a higher caliber of player than I was showing before when I did cast that game from Division C. So levels are now pretty close to even. Mercenary camps are just going to be taken. We're just seeing some standard macro play being done. Siege camp for Beast Coast. Fortification camp or turret for Minion Miners. Minion Miners will get their siege camp as well, so that means the pressure in the top lane will be even. And we'll just see which team decides to clear it to try to get the edge and the pressure. But down here they need to be very careful because there is that Kel'Thuzad. He is stacked, and if a noob and Lili just get stunned and rooted, they could actually just die right there. So Anubarak is not Anubarak. Johanna is alone top. She was trying to clear, and Johanna. Oh. Glacial Spike in the bush, but no one from Minion Miners gets close enough. That's a neat trick. Like, I've never even... I'm assuming that works because I'm assuming the Glacial Spike is actually hidden in the bush, which is something I normally would never even to think about that interaction. Like, oh, can you see a Glacial Spike if it's hidden in the bush? I would never even think about that. I'm assuming it works, but I'm not even completely sure. So, Chen is by himself, but Chen is a hero who... Alright, he finally activates Stagger. If anything, one of the things I'm not liking from MegaMuffin is I'm feeling his Stagger activations are coming in a little bit late. And again, for those of you who maybe don't know as much about this game, if you're one of my Dawn of War 2 viewers, Stagger is an ability from Chen. But never mind, let's talk about Falstad getting blown up like that. Tried to gust them away, but he was already caught by Kel'Thuzad. So Stagger is an ability from Chen that once he activates it, he will take less damage. He will take 75% of the damage he receives instead of the full 100%. And the damage won't happen immediately. It will happen over a short duration. Effectively, it's kind of like having an ability that just gives you 25 armor. Not exactly the same because the damage just happens over a short period of time. So you need to activate that when you get the most value out of it when you're about to take a lot of damage. And more what we're seeing from MegaMuffin is that he doesn't recognize that he's about to take a lot of damage, so he does take a lot of damage, and then he activates Stagger after he's already taken a lot of damage. So, yeah, I think they need to focus on the Kel'Thuzad. Actually, that's the play. That was a great play by Minion Miners. If anything, that's the play that they should have been looking for all game. They managed to cocoon the Kel'Thuzad, zone everybody away from the cocoon, and then once Kel'Thuzad is in the cocoon, as long as there's follow-up from the rest of the team, there's no way he's going to get out of that alive. So what are we going to see in response from Beast Coast? They can't contest the objective yet, but I think Kel'Thuzad will be alive in time that they will have a chance to contest it. And it looks like what they're going to go for. I was wondering if they were going to maybe take some time to push down the bottom lane. They probably could have gotten the fort front wall. But it looks like they just want to make sure that they have another chance to contest the objective as 5 with Kel'Thuzad back up. And they will have that opportunity. But I think it's crazy that we see minion miners with double healing camps. So minion miners definitely have a massive item advantage, in my opinion. And I think it's very interesting they decide to back out. So what we're seeing from these teams that you might not see from teams in lower divisions is teams recognizing that they have time to actually leave the objective, to actually achieve something else. In this case, get some macro pressure. Chen is in the back though. He does get gusted, and but the Kel'Thuzad is just proving to be too much. It is a 1-for-1 trade though, so this fight is still going on. Both healing items are down, but Greymane is just ripping Falstad alive. It's been hard to keep that bird alive for the blue team, for the red team, despite having those 2 healers. But I mean, they have 2 healers. Neither one of these healers is actually great at like burst protection. They're both pretty good at sustaining, and I think that's going to be the objective 1 in favor of Beast Coast. Is Chen is actually just going to kill Alexstrasza like that. Chen's going in for more. So Chen is such a nuisance, and this is part of the problem that I'm seeing with this composition. They have this Anubarak as their only frontliner, and he's not providing adequate peel against that Chen. In fact, he's not providing adequate peel for himself. I mean, we're practically seeing Chen solo their team. Eventually, the Chen goes down. But the Triglav Protector will move to the bottom lane. I think it's interesting that they chose the bottom lane. I feel like they could have gone to the middle, maybe, try to get down a keep front wall. But, I mean, I guess this is a safer play. They'll definitely get the fort. They won't get much more than that, though. Actually, I'm not even sure if they will get the fort. If anything, they need to start backing out, because they're about to be collapsed upon. But Anubarak, where is he? That's the real question, because that's the one that they really need. Anubarak's not here, because he was dead. Instead, now what's just going to happen? I think MarshHole is in a bad position, though. But there is no Blessed Shield, so there was no way to lock down that... did I say Lunara? I meant Lily. No way to lock down that Lily. So, Minion Miners, I mean, they're making this draft kind of work. You know, I say kind of because this game is still going. They're definitely losing, but they're not. It's not like they're in a position where they can't still win. It's tricky, though, because, I mean, overall, it does feel like Beast Coast is the stronger team. Minion Miners, of course, did play very well in that second game, so I mean they have it in them to win. But I mean, I think we're also seeing the importance of drafting in this game. I do feel that Minion Miners had the better draft in Game 2, and I feel that Beast Coast has the better draft in this game. So Beast Coast are going to take their siege camp. Are we going to see siege camp taken by Minion Miners? Yes, we are. So just kind of mirroring each other. Problem, of course, for Minion Miners, they're now in the problem that Beast Coast was in the last game, which is that there's now a pretty good chance that Beast Coast makes it to 20 before... Well, they're definitely going to make it to 20 before Minion Miners. And there's a decent chance that they can make it there when an objective comes up. Now, the window is not as big. We do see... Ooh, Panda Pal's used early by Chen. He even did the jump, which meant that there is no root opportunity. And that's also a very, very big cooldown. That is a 120-second cooldown, which is just one of the longest cooldowns for any ability in the game, period. So if anything, I really want to see Beast Coast be more aggressive with what they have right now. They have 20. Minion Miners does not. If anything, I underestimated the timing of the objective, or maybe I overestimated it. And Minion Miners will now definitely have 20 in time for the objective. So here is that engage. They go for the Alexstrasza, and I think that's the kill they're looking for. They're going to get the Alexstrasza. They're going to get more. They get himmybo as well. They got 3. I saw 2. So I think we're... I was gonna say checkmate, but it's not checkmate yet. It's more like check, where this is definitely looking like a situation where Beast Coast could close out this game. And this is very strong play from them, where they're only channeling the beacon with Chen while they push down. This is now starting to be checkmate. There are only 2 people up for the members of Minion Miners. They don't have a lot to defend this, if anything. Falstead, I was going to say Falstead can maybe use Gust to slow them down, but he doesn't even have Gust available. And the siege from Beast Coast is incredibly strong. They've got a Greymane. They've got a stacked Kel'Thuzad. He can just use Death and Decay. Really, even though he's a mage, and mage heroes are typically weaker at sieging than some of the sustained damage assassins, especially Greymane. With that increased spell power he gets from completing his stacks, he can just throw out his abilities on a structure, and he actually does a ton of damage. So they only got about 40% of that structure, but they do have a Triglav Protector walking in, and this is do or die for Minion Miners. They lose this, they lose the series. I think they need to cocoon a target while we've got 2 in the Protector. Cocoon a target, and then dive in and go for someone else. And this is another time where I'm really wishing Li Ming. That is such a good wind tunnel. Look, they're going to do exactly what I said with the help of that Gust, and they might actually be able to stay in this game, but BRUther's going to go down too. BRUther was the unnecessary death that Minion Miners definitely did not need and did not want. And I think it really helps that they actually took someone out of the Protector. So no one's in fact, no one's in the Protector right now. So they're managed to get more kills. It is a 3v3. But we've got people going back in the Protector now that they've lost health. Wow, Kel'Thuzad actually going for... I've never seen that taken in a more serious game, although, I mean, Kel'Thuzad is pretty rare in general. Shifting Malice. A dash ability for Kel'Thuzad, but it has a 240-second cooldown. Chen... I think he doesn't survive this. Chen was able to use their attempted chase, and now they actually have to be careful because they could die. The level 20 upgrade for Falling Sword. Very, very rare to see. Chen, again, is getting so close to dying. But now, so are Wesgra and SrMacofCheez. Wow, what is the cooldown? Oh, because they probably reduced the cooldown. Yeah, I was going to say, those... I mean, I rarely ever see that ability that I didn't even realize that those bolts that come out of the sky actually reduce the cooldown of the ability. Light Bomb doesn't do much. Oh, that's a Gust blown. Not much going to be achieved by that. And now he doesn't have the Gust to get Greymane off here. That's going to be another engage attempt by ThePiemaker. And I think Falstad goes down. It's chicken for dinner. And Greymane just barely stays alive, and that will be the game in favor of Beast Coast. And although this, certainly when you look at the structures, it's actually pretty dominant in Beast Coast's favor. But, I mean, those last few engagements were actually pretty intense, as they were saying in the chat. Core will be finished up. It was a pretty good series. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.